Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here, and welcome back to more Age of Sigmar lore. In this video, I will be talking about the Gloomspite Gits. Before I begin, if you want more Age of Sigmar lore videos, check out my channel, and I would be grateful if you liked, commented, and subscribed, as well as shared this video. My purpose is to prove that Age of Sigmar is more than just the game that killed Warhammer Fantasy. Now, onto the video. The Gloomspite Gits are goblins, referred to as grots by their bigger orc cousins, who are closely related to them and lean on the Mork side. It is said that the orcs and the goblins were inseparable during the days of the world that was, with the goblins essentially being slaves for their bigger counterparts. However, after the destruction of the world that was, no one knows how and why the orcs and the goblins went on their separate ways, and there are many interpretations. Some say that Gorkamorka commanded them. Others say that the two heads of the god of destruction argued about a large shiny spoon that blew out of proportion. However, Gorkamorka is not the only one the Gloomspite worship. They have a healthy fear of Kragnos, the ender of empires, as does any creature of destruction. They also worship a spider entity that is also infused with Gorkamorka. The reason why the worship of the Gloomspite varies is that they are easily impressed. However, one entity they worship stands out from the rest. A malevolent, celestial body with a mind of its own called the Bad Moon. Just like the reason as to why the orcs and the goblins are separated, there are many theories as to how the Bad Moon came to be. Some say Gorkamorka's essence transferred to a large piece of rock that he tried to take a bite out of, but was too hard for him to chew on. Some say that his visage magically transferred to the moon's reflection when Gorkamorka jumped into the first ocean to try to eat it. Some say that it manifested from dead grot shamans. Some say that it is the remains of Gorkamorka's worship that he first used to sail the Aetheric Void, or the ancestor of some trolls whom flew down from it in a craft that is now lost beneath the mountains. The followers of the spider god insist that the Bad Moon is a silken egg. The Git Runners claim that the Bad Moon is the eye of the Big Howler, the mother of all Snarlfangs. So there are many interpretations as to what the Bad Moon is and how it came to be. All that is known is that whichever realm the Bad Moon gets nearby, it is generally a sign of bad omen, and for good reasons, because it drives them to a frenzy as hordes of little greenskins clad in black hoods descend upon the realms with ear-screeching shrieks. When the Bad Moon closes into a mortal realm, the light of Hyash is overtaken by a pale, gloomy light. Madness reigns, and reason becomes a rarity. This phenomenon is referred to as Gloomspite, and is the reason why the goblins are called the Gloomspite Gits. They hate the light of Hyash, and find the gloom of the Bad Moon to be a blessing. Their hatred of Hyash also extends to the storm god Sigmar. When the Bad Moon rises, even those with the highest will find their intelligence degrading. People speaking in dead tongues and reciting long-lost prophecies from the age of myth that they could have never known but say anyways. Chitinous vermin, not them, start infesting the streets. Waterfalls run backwards. Livestock gives birth to hideous abominations. The people are transformed into fungal zombies similar to those in The Last of Us, and those that somehow survived have to face an onslaught of black-robed greenskins. So, the goblins are cowards by nature. However, when the Bad Moon is in the sky, they are filled with a bloodlust that makes them forget how small and frail they actually are. When the Bad Moon is particularly pleased, it rains down fang-like meteorites down onto the earth as if it's taking a bite, shall we say. These meteorites are known as loonstones, which the goblins carve into one of those loon shrines of theirs. Loonstone has a property where it will glow a sickly yellow when someone is having treacherous thoughts. They try to use them as lie detectors, but surprise, surprise! Grots are liars by nature. Some try to infiltrate the hobgrots of the cruel boys, because Moonstone is also particularly good at absorbing energy. However, this usually doesn't end well because the goblins have little experience using explosives like their hobgrot cousins do, and you can just hear 1812 Overture playing while you see a goblin flying through the air while tied to a cannonball. But why are the goblins like this? They are anarchic and highly nihilistic. Their actions are always unpredictable and seemingly self-sabotaging. Well, despite their many varying attempts, all goblins share the same vision, bringing upon the Everdank to the mortal realms. What is the Everdank? Is it their afterlife? Sort of. The Everdank is the endpoint of all gobbos. They have no respect for walls and wants to keep nature dominant, but not in the Sylvaneth way of doing. They want to keep nature dirty, murky, gloomy, claustrophobic, and dank as possible, where their spiders scuttle and the fungi they eat grows everywhere. The laws of reality will work to benefit the goblins as the bad moon greens upon the mortal realms for all time, and it will be them who will call the shots. Now, being creatures of destruction, the goblins are attuned with Gur, the realm of beasts. The right of life proved to be a boon for them as the new grows that came to be can also become their hidey holes that will bring about their oh so precious Everdank. The Gloomspite also use abandoned Fiery Slayer magma holds, ancient Caracs, and warrens they took from the Skaven as their homes. But it is unknown if Kragnos' escape sent the Bad Moon into a frenzy more so than before, or if the Bad Moon accelerated Kragnos' escape. What is certain, however, is that the Dawnbringer Crusades have much to fear from these insidious little creatures, as whenever they reach their destination, the Grots attack from below, which catches them off guard. If they have clans of Dispossessed or Fiery Slayer mercenaries with them, they might be more lucky. If not, well, there have been times where frontiers have been discovered eerily devoid of any and all population. As to the goblins' relations with their cousins, well, their Orc cousins can push them around, but they can manipulate them for their own ends due to how dim-witted they are. But this isn't the case with the Cruel Boys. Not only do they possess the strength of an Orc, but also the wits of a Goblin. So they sometimes work with one another only to get into a race of who will stab the other in the back first later. Well, how is Grot society? Well, we know that the places they live resemble their oh-so-precious Everdank, and they also like to inhabit swamps that the Cruel Boys like to live in as well. But they prefer dark caves. The Age of Chaos has ensured that goblins are cowards by nature, surviving by fending anything that comes close to their lairs through bolt holes. The caves they live in are particularly damp, and with the mushrooms they grow alongside the dampness gives the cave a horrendous smell that only the goblins can endure. To the point not even the Skaven of Clan Pestilence can stand the stench for a long period of time, and would cleanse the cave with their putrid incense first before making a warren out of it. And these horrendous-smelling, damp, dark caves are called lurk lairs, which are a network of gloomy caverns which are lit by, well, mushrooms. However, when they are not in a cave, they are inhabiting ancient Caracs, abandoned magma holds, conquered Skaven warrens, or a swamp once inhabited by the Cruel Boys. All goblins, even the shamans, live in absolute squalor. The other goblins get little to nothing, while the goblins at the top get to hoard any scrap they find on the surface. Some of them are bottles and vials, because the goblins are, for some reason, incapable of glasswork. Meanwhile, the places inhabited by the Spiderfang are called nests, because it is more of the home of the giant spiders than of the goblins. but they do not mind this, even enjoy it, because it is a part of their twisted religion. However, these nests tend to be found in deep forests rather than caves. Then there are troll lairs, which are equally as rancid as goblin lairs as well. They are almost always caves. Now, unlike the orcs, the goblins are actually not against the concept of empire. As the megalomaniacal cretins that they are, they enjoy ruling vast stretches of land or, well, cave systems. Given that they are also opportunistic by nature, they also like to establish their kingdoms close to or right underneath a Sigmarite strongpoint, a Chaos Dreadhold, or an Ossiarch necropolis. These can be in any of the realms. At first, it would seem that they are prevalent most in Gur, as the creatures of destruction are by nature attuned to the realm of beasts. However, they are most prevalent in Chamon due to the success of Skruggrot the Loon King with his Skrappa Spill. Now, what is the Skrappa Spill? The Skrappa Spill is something straight out of the SCP Foundation. It is less a settlement or a fortress and more a mountain of rusting blades. A literal mountain of rusting blades, mind you. It was once the home of the very close cousins of the goblins, Noblars, whom have an affinity for stealing stuff and are more kept as pets by the ogre maw tribes. However, the orcs claimed Ayadaya, plundered their foes, and stacked their armaments on top of one another. However, in a single night, with a preemptive strike that was done with a chain of betrayals, Skruggrot and his horde of goblins was able to overrun the spill in a single night. The Bad Moon was so impressed by Skruggrot's plan that it belched a cloud of cosmic debris to the land, and that is why the continent of Ayadaya is permanently gloomy, as the Skrappa Spill has become a very good indicator of what the Everdank looks and smells like. The Skrappa Spill is surrounded by foul-smelling plains full of mildew and moisture sumps. The goblins have exit tunnels from the stacks of weapons, and traversing them even now carries risk of impalement, which can bring diseases too. Skruggrot ordered his lads to excavate tunnels deep underground to connect their other lurk lairs, nests, and troll holes, making the network of the Skrappa Spill to be incomprehensibly large. Meanwhile, the gobbles all across the mortal realms migrate to Chamon to replicate the success of the Skrappa Spill, and in all due likelihood they are eaten alive by Tzeentchian abominations. Skrappa Spill was assaulted many times by Ironjaw's, Fiery Slayers, and Caradron fleets, but they all failed. So because of this, Chamon not only has a Tzeentch problem, but also a Goblin problem. Gobbos just seem to like fighting Dolwy. The Gloomspite Gits usually don't have armies, at least in the traditional sense, let alone a chain of command. What they have instead is an anarchic mob of black-robed green hooligans with crude weapons accompanied by spider riders, squigs, and wolves. A mob of grots led by a loon boss or shaman is called a scrap, which has a hierarchy of might makes right, might being just how cunning you are. Their specialists just appear and go with the flow. For example, Gobbapaloozas drift together chaotically across the battlefield. They will gather around a boss grot until said boss grot gets bored of the zealots and they offer some other boss grot their services. There are the Squigalanches, which comprise of all sorts of squig riders, spider-fang armies known as Stalktribes. They tend to be more organized, but only slightly. The reason for this is because they are led by highly zealous shamans who are also the high priests of the spider god. They also have trolls. Like with their Uruk cousins, the Gloomspite have also their own sets of cultures. Their cultures, for example, all share a hatred of light, except one of them, which I'll get to them later, which can manifest in different ways. Although all Gloomspite Gits despise the light of Hyash, none love it more than the Fazl-Shun Spiderfang tribe in the Realm of Light itself, ruled by a group of shamans known as the Council of Eyes. Their plan is to use their spiders, which they will feed Ulguan Realmstone, so they will make shadow silk for webs to swallow Hyash's light, or at least temporarily block the light to spite the elves. Another example would be the Claggett Smotherers Moonclan in Akshi, who not only hate light, but also fire. However, the biggest and dominant Gloomspite culture is the King's Gits in Ayadaya, Chamon. They are led by the Loon King himself. The other cultures hate the King's Gits for bragging and also out of envy. But they have every right to boast, as Skrappa Spill was besieged many times, but it stood every single time. One of the reasons for this being that thanks to Skrugrot, the King's Gits have a very rudimentary chain of command. Then there are the Bat Snatches in Ulgu, led by Ogwats the Magnificent, who is a known braggart that claims he has already manifested the Everdank in the area they inhabit, the Hushed Hills. There is a constant gloom and murk there, and even in the Age of Myth, it was shunned for being the home of shadow demons. No, it's just goblins. The Bat Snatches are master liars, cons, and deceivers, with Ogwats gaining full control over the Hushed Hills by bidding swaths of land with other moon clans and cheating. Of course, he was never caught, thanks to the shamans under his command, who manifest their foul moon magic by using Ulgu's winds of magic. Then there is Mork's Maw, which is a melting pot of grot tribes comprising of Squigalanches. They are led by a mysterious being known as the Overbounder. What is his purpose? To jump over the bad moon. Why? Well, he never answered why. Brilliant! He covers his entire body so that the bad moon won't see him coming, because he's so mysterious and in their insanity, think that he makes a lot of sense. Other Squigalanches gather around him in his oh-so-noble purpose of jumping over an orbital body. Then there is the Grim Scuttle, whom inhabit the continent of Neferatia in Shyish. They were able to open a gateway to the Evercrawl since the Great Skitter Scream. The Evercrawl is, according to the Goblins, where the spider god they worship resides. During the times when the bad moon looms over Shyish, these little buggers emerge from the forests to mess with Neferata and her kingdom in a frenzy. Their giant spiders are able to open portals to the Evercrawl to drag any survivors to be fed to the spider god, and once they are done, they slip back into the Evercrawl and leave without a trace. Finally, there is Glog's Megamob, which is increasing in momentum every passing year in Thondia. They are a group of Trogoths, or trolls, whose true purpose is unknown. Some say they follow Kragnos, while the moon clans of the Daggertooth Coast claim that they simply are fulfilling a mission given to them by Gorka Morka, while some say that they simply fight, kill, and eat for the thrill of the slaughter. They are led by, well, Glog. He is a troll that learned to speak and understand monosyllabic words. Under his command, many trolls have gathered, and some are even dragging rune shrines with them on rusted anchors. And because it is a horde comprised of trolls, some Sigmarite strongpoints are abandoned before a battle even happens. Because a horde of trolls is rather horrifying given how trolls are in Age of Sigmar. Now, onto the units of the Gloomspites. Starting off, we have Loon Bosses, the most common leader in the Gloomspite Gits. They have bits of armor they pilfered from the surface dwellers, and oftentimes take squigs as pets. They also have their own egomaniacal titles, such as Grand Under Emperor or some other self-aggrandizing title. To become a Loon Boss, one must use unorthodox tactics. Translation: backstabbing and other ways of backstabbing that doesn't involve a dagger to slice a throat with. Then there are squig bosses, whom are looked at suspicion by the other grots, but are found invaluable to them because they were able to survive a squig for over a week and can hurt squigs. This is very impressive because squigs will eat literally anything. The squig bosses say that they can speak the squig's tongue, but this is a lie. They just know which mushrooms they have to feed the squigs for optimal speed, bouncing, to prevent them from eating them, etc. There are the aforementioned Gobapaloopas, whom are sycophants that follow loon bosses. They also distort reality around them. Any other goblin who gets near them can have experiences ranging from wild hallucinations and melting into sentient green slime, and yet these aren't enough to dissuade more from joining the fanatics. However, the hallucinations are a feature, not a bug, as the potions they quaff render them near immune to pain. The Bogleyes use their hypnotic gaze to render enemies into slavering idiots staying in one place, waiting to get stabbed. The Brew Gits concoct potions that allows them to gain troll strength for a short period of time. Spikers have endless supplies from Stalktribes and bring blessings from the Spider God. Scaregits, whom instill fear upon their comrades, and the Shrewmancers, which can weaponize and bring mushrooms to life. Then there are the most common shamans, which are the Mooncap shamans. Their understanding of casting spells to be screaming gibberish, ingesting large amounts of redcap fungi, and then hope for the best. They either cast their spells or explode in an emerald green spore, or melting into sludge, or become a petrified statue overgrown with mushrooms. Finally, for their leaders, we have the fungoid cave shamans, which are the closest things the goblins have to grand strategists. They are visionaries, soothsayers, and instigators, offering their services by consuming a lot of toxic fungi and astral projecting themselves into a place called the Great Green. They are either lunatics like the rest of the goblins, or actually have a symbiotic relationship with the fungi growing on their heads, which will one day burst from within their cranium. They are also the only goblins a cruel boy will ever deal with, as they also claim themselves to be innately connected to Mork. On to the battle line. The hordes of black-hooded Moonclan grots will happily sacrifice hundreds of lives to win battles and are divided into two parts. Either the shooters that rain arrows against their enemies, or stabbers armed with swords, spears, and a shield to shank their enemies with. Then there are the sneaky snufflers, who collect a particular mushroom known as Looncap, which they use their pet snuffle squigs to find. They use this to brew potions and send nearby grots that he gives the mushroom for them to eat and enter a raging frenzy. Then there are the fanatics, who are like actual fanatics, high on mushroom and strength potions while they swing a giant chain that would normally require multiple grots to wield into a cyclone of death until they bash their own skulls in or swing off a cliff cackling like a lunatic. Some fanatics wield a Thakweezer puff shroom, which grows in all sorts of awkward places. These mushrooms, when agitated, emit lung-clogging spores. So imagine a fast-spinning grot approaching you with toxic mushroom that will melt your lungs while sending other goblins into a frenzy. A creative way to break the Geneva Convention, that's for sure. Now, what if I told you that there are a group of goblins that don't fear the light of Hylish? These goblins are the Snarlfang Riders, who worship Glareface Frazzlegate alongside the Bad Moon. The Moon clans and the Stalktribes hate Frazzlegate, for it represents the light they hate so much. But the Snarlfang Riders embrace the worship of it, and these Git mobs whom ride wolves are feared across the realm of light. But the threats they face are many. Dawnbringer Crusades, Lumineth armies, undead and Hedonite hosts, and so they have also gone to the other mortal realms as well. Although the Moon clans absolutely despise the Git mob, their hatred of other creatures eclipses the enmity between the two groups. In battle, the lupines they do right have a toxic saliva, while the Moonclan shooters weaken their foes, the Snarlfangs right for the kill with their spears. Then there are the Squig Riders and the Squig Herder. For those unfamiliar with what a squig is, it is a spherical creature that has idiot aggression and strength. The goblins ride them to war even if said creature is also likely to devour them. Squig herding is a thing, and it is essentially a suicide job. Their job is to jab the squigs and make them go berserk. If they get eaten, it is considered to be entertainment. Then there are squig hoppers, whom are goblins that manage to get on the back of a squig for long enough without being devoured. This approximates for cavalry for them, even though they don't even have control over the damn things, as they are too busy clinging to them for their lives. But what is always a guarantee is that something will die in battle. If these riders survive for a battle or two, they will become Boingros bounders, who don crude armor that vaguely resembles the Bad Moon, hoping the squigs will not eat a symbol of the Bad Moon. Or so they think. Then there are the Mangler squigs, who are geniuses who thought that riding two giant squigs at once is a brilliant idea. Now on to the units of the Stalktribes. Their leaders, web spinner shamans, who are the high priests of the Stalktribes, and like that of a loon boss, their word is law. They spread the Everdank so the children of the Spider God can hunt forever. Then there are the Scuttle bosses, whom are the lieutenants of the web spinners. They ingest poisons pre-battle to make them tougher, but it also makes them absolutely insane, and at a certain point they will also have arachnoid features as well, which are seen as boons from the Spider God, which confirms that the Spider God does indeed exist in some form. Then there are the Arachnarok spiders, which are apex predator in the arachnic territory. Its limbs can tear apart the hulls of a Krudron ironclad, and they are the size of one. Their web is so strong that even an ogre would struggle to break free of it. They would normally eat the goblins, but since they revere these beings as divine and for all intents and purposes, the chosen of the Spider God. Then there are goblins who ride smaller yet still large spiders. They are, of course, called Spider Riders. They are nimble, light cavalry, which the goblins soften up the enemy with poison arrows. Then the spiders get to have their food. And then there are the Troggoths, or trolls. The most common trolls are the Danghole variety. These dumb brutes will prefer deep, dark, and dank caves to make a wretched lair out of. They are highly antisocial and lazy creatures, preferring to hole up in their caves and sleep for centuries. They might find themselves half their size or grow twice in size during their sleep, and should the Bad Moon influence them to get up and fight, they are a force to be reckoned with, because trolls have supreme regenerative capabilities and have little to no pain receptors. Then there are the Trog bosses, who are the leaders of the trolls when they go to war. The other trolls just know that they are the leader and don't question it. The goblins and the others don't know why, and some goblins claim that some of the Trog bosses are older than the mortal realms, implying that the trolls are so stubborn, feel no pain, and have regenerative capabilities that some manage to survive the destruction of the world that was. Then there are the Rock Gut Troggoths, who has a strict diet of rocks, and they make their lairs by eating rocks and making vast cave networks. They handle rock like it is water, and their rock-like skins make them near impervious to physical and magical damage. So if you encounter one, either try to damage it while he eats one of your friends, or don't fight it at all. Finally, there are the Fellwater trolls, whom are stinky to the point that they would make an Iron Jaw vomit. And speaking of, they have highly caustic vomit that melts literally anything that it touches. Think of it like xenomorph blood if you have seen the Alien movies. And that is it for this video, for the Gloomspite Gits. I am the Nameless Scholar. And don't forget, the goblins, you don't mess with them.